We are live.
Welcome everybody once again, and this time we are going to take COVID questions in middle of the mind. And we have with us our most popular Guru Anna, Professor Harish Shetty, a world famous psychiatrist, and we are going to have a mind rapid fire for him. Welcome, Dr. Shetty. Guru Anna, we are in a thick of a potential second surge. People have two reactions: extreme reaction of fear, पब्लिक का फट गेला है कि वापस आएगा कोरोना, and another group of individuals are completely reckless. So people are swimming between recklessness to fear or fearlessness to fear, and people need to be careful, people need to be responsible. So Guru Anna, your first take: what should people do as we enter into the next phase of our COVID surge?
Back to the basics. Deputy Municipal Commissioner goes to High Court. Just think about this sentence. Nobody has gone. DMC goes to HC. D for distance, M for mask, C for closed locations, as Shashank says, and HC, hygiene and crowds. So DMC goes to HC. Corona appropriate behavior, COVID appropriate behavior is a mental health intervention. It's a behavioral intervention. Nobody can wire that to you. Maji jababdari, me jababdar, I'm responsible is something which is very important. That's number one. Number two is Corona is going to stay, COVID is going to stay, and we're going to live with it. The virus is not very lethal, the virus is infectious, but its virulence has gone down. So we have to go to work doing DMC goes to HC, but at the same time, see that we take care. Remember one thing which is very important: fear is a very normal response. Fear helps us to save us from danger. Fear makes us run away from danger. But fear is not abnormal. When fear increases to anxiety, that is a problem. So if everybody laughs over the fear and with the fear, fear goes down. But what is very important also is this phenomenon of acknowledging the emotion, identifying the emotion, accepting the emotion, experiencing the emotion, and exhausting the emotion. Very important to say, ah, maji phaatte. Try an English translation for the sentence, you'll never get it. So remember, identify the feeling, acknowledge the feeling, accept the feeling, experience the feeling, and exhaust the feeling. With that, please lean on those who have rational optimism. Blind optimism is dangerous, as Shashank said just now in different words. Blind optimism is मी जाणार मला काही नाही होणार मैं जाऊंगा मुझे कुछ नहीं होगा. Rational optimism is I'll play safe and I will go. And that I think is very important. Let us get connected to the larger community. Let us be connected and have a sense of belonging with the Vasudhaiva Kutumbam. Let us be connected with people across in our mohallas, in our housing complexes, in our buildings, and share the fear so that the fear dissipates. Break the fear into small pieces. It helps. Let me break my fear. Say, for example, if I have a fear of going to a restaurant, break it. I have a fear of starting from my house. I have a fear of walking on the road. I have a fear of boarding the auto rickshaw. I have a fear of holding the handles of the restaurant door. I have a fear of sitting on the table. When fear is broken into small chunks, the anxiety also disappears. So do a lot of other things also. But remember, survival of the best only will happen if you protect your brain and see that the bulb inside it is lighted and not being isolated. Isolation will increase the fear, being with people will bring down the fear. And that I think is the first mantra we need to use across COVID or any disaster. This is going to last for too long, and we are going to survive this by being rationally optimistic.
Guru Anna, we'll straight go to rapid fire. Shailesh Batra is asking this question. My wife had COVID few months ago. Since last 2 weeks, she falls unconscious for an hour, and she became all right afterwards. She does not remember what happened. The neurologist says all is well. Is it because of COVID infection?
Last week, 2 weeks back, we said don't blame alcohol for all the problems in the homes. Similarly, don't blame COVID for all symptoms. Very important for you to understand. And that means falling unconscious without any neurological cause, no epilepsy, no tumor, no change in the functions of the brain, and coming back to normal happens when emotions are trapped in the body. Somatization is what it is called. So there could be issues and conflicts which may not be easily expressed, and that can be seen as a somatic symptom of being physically, emotionally unconscious, not physically unconscious. And that happens in safe places. It happens inside the house most of the times. Such people do not fall and injure themselves. Such people also don't clench their teeth and bite their tongues. Such people also do not pass urine or stool during the unconsciousness. The best thing to do is not to take them to a Guruji or a temple, or put onions on the nose, or put a spoon between the tongue. The best person is a friendly neighborhood psychologist or a psychiatrist who would be able to elicit the story which causes that conflict and unconsciousness, and release the anxiety and the pain associated with it. Sometimes depression can present itself with somatization and unconsciousness, emotional unconsciousness, not physical unconsciousness, and that may need some medication. So, my dear guys, don't blame all your ills on COVID. Don't make yourself not responsible for certain things happening around them. In this lady, it could be that she has other issues in her mind which may not be related to COVID. So treat them rationally, judiciously, and logically through a friendly neighborhood psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Thank you, Guru Anna. Mr. Chakravarti is asking the question. My son is in 10th and the other son is in 12th. The exams are going offline. I think it is very sad. We are very scared. Government should have online. What is your opinion, sir?
Well, offline exams have been announced, and children will have to go to schools to appear for exams. Understandably, there'll be anxiety. But remember one thing, let us prepare our children to manage this fear and anxiety. The schools have to take a part. The schools should introduce those boys and girls who are anxious to others who are not anxious. There would be 30% of children who are ready to take the exams boldly with rational optimism. That will help. Secondly, parents who are very anxious need to deal with their anxieties before talking to the children. And if they really cannot do that, talk to other parents who are less anxious. That brings down the anxiety. As I said, when anxieties and fears are shared and broken into small chunks, it gets dissipated. Along with that, schools should take the initiative of helping the children practice reaching the school once or twice, going up to the school, saying hello to the teachers, and coming back in small numbers. No official starting of the school without the government's decision. And that helps them to prepare a rehearsal for walking into the school for appearing an exam. As I've said this, there will be some kids who will be extremely anxious. Don't wait for the exams to start. Treat them now, probably with good psychological counseling from a school counselor or from a teacher who's adept at counseling, or teachers who are favorites of certain children. Keep in touch with the 10th and the 12th kids continuously for some time. Provide them space to express, provide them space to heal, provide them space so that their questions will be answered. And then, my dear parents, walk with them till the examination hall on the first 2 days. And when they go, assure them, don't give them too many instructions. Too many don'ts cause anxiety. Too many do's also cause anxiety. Put your arms on their back, roll it vertically, not horizontally, and then let them go. Send them with a smile, and when they come back, hug them, and don't ask them what they have done in the exams. Don't calculate the marks. No postmortem. It's like a Hindu puja, swaha. You can't get Agni back into the fire, and that will help them. My dear friends, yet, if somebody is very anxious, he or she may need medications or counseling and counseling. That is something we do. School principals, teachers, and counselors. It's a big responsibility for you guys to bring down the anxiety of children so that they appear in an atmosphere of peace and tranquility. JEE exams also has happened. JEE results have also come up. There's offline exams, so many more exams will happen. But in case if the government decides that exams need to be postponed, if the government decides exams need to be postponed for a few months, given the condition at that point of time, accept it. Postpone your dream for some time, but remember, preserve your dream. And that I think is very important.
Chintu Patil is asking a very sensitive question. My father took his vaccine, but my mother is refusing. Her fears are irrational. She's a diabetic and hypertensive. I do not know what to do and how to convince my mother to take the vaccine. Guru Anna, do you have any answers?
Of course. Chintu, what a lovely name. My first cousin, also known as Chintu. What a lovely name. And let your mother meet other mothers in the area who have taken the vaccine. Let the mother go and talk to the vaccinator, not take the vaccine, and see the queue and just meet some of those women who have taken the vaccine. No force at all. Vaccine is voluntary. At the same time, get all your queries answered. Fears may have come because of one incident which was reported long ago, and the person must have absorbed that incident, held that incident in his heart and his mind, and that may have provoked this anxiety. Also, talk to Chintu, ask your mother to talk to her husband, and when she is exposed to ambassadors of vaccine, supporters of vaccine, you have taken them, fears go down. Along with that, let her talk to her confidante. It could be a family physician, it could be a friend, it could be a doctor, it could be somebody who's working with her in the office. And that also will help anxiety go down. If she needs a small anti-anxiety pill on the day of the vaccine, give it. No problems at all. And if she still has anxiety, meet the head of the vaccinating place, the dean of the hospital, the CEO of the hospital, and let the papa figure, strong papa figure, reassure her. Let somebody accompany her. Let a doctor say, don't wait for half an hour, wait for 1 hour. And then when she goes back without the fear and with the vaccine, she'll become one of the strongest ambassadors for vaccine. My dear friends who are listening to this show, all those senior citizens, don't just sit down after the vaccine in your homes. Remember to tell the world that you have taken the vaccine. Pick up your phones and talk to as many people, friends, relatives, neighbors, and even strangers. Smita Chavan, the other day, who's the deputy dean in one of the most famous hospitals, told me as I left the place, call your neighbors, call your friends, call your foes, and call everybody. We will give them the vaccine. So that optimism, Chintu, your mother will be helped. And Chintu, hold her and take her to the vaccination center. If it still fails, Guru Anna, Dr. Harish Shetty, and Guru Maharaj, Dr. Shashank Joshi are there to help her take the vaccine.
No, there is no Maharaj here. Anirudh, would you just put up the picture of our Honorable Chief Minister? This week, our Honorable Chief Minister on the Mahashivratri day took the vaccine at JJ Hospital, our homegrown vaccine. And you can see him here that he has taken the vaccine. So, Chintu, your mother should not fear. Our Chief Minister took his wife took it. And I think we should all be confident. And I think we should take the vaccine. So, Guru
And
Anna,
Prime Minister also took it. Yeah.
Prime Minister's photo we showed when he took it.
Yes, yes.
And we did a show there. And then, of course, there it is. So I think you should not fear. I think our leaders have led from the front. Guru Anna himself took it on the first day. So we have all taken the vaccine. But these fears about school and colleges are still there, Guru Anna. So the next question people are asking, and this is a student, and this student is called Mr. Almeida. Almeida is asking a question. I'm in my first year of college. My classes are online. I know my peers only through the web. It's extremely depressing and boring. I don't have to go to college when it begins. I have lost all hope of making friends. I'm so nervous and depressed. Guru Anna, is there any solution? I feel your whole
Absolutely.
youth is gone.
Absolutely. Extend the friendship of your school friends in the 10th standard across the 11th standard. If you are doing first year 11th standard, extend the friendship of all those in the 12th standard across first year of college, first year of MBBS, first year of engineering. And that would be, and you may be very lucky to continue your relationship with the boys and girls you know. The boys and girls on whom you had a crush, the boys and girls whom you wanted to propose. You have 1 year extra time. That's number one. Number two is that Do not remain isolated. Again, I'm saying, talk to your peers who are available to you in your area, in your mohalla, in your suburb, in your village or in your town. Meet them because you have an extended period to meet your older peers. And as you do that, remember friendships can be forged online also, and it's not very difficult. Well, if you can forge friendships on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, on FaceTime, on Instagram with unknown people. Why the hell can't you forge friendships with your peers? There would be interesting boys and girls who have your own taste. There would be interesting boys and girls who share your own hobbies. So after the class, boring or good, get them online later and ask them how they are. During my time, we had pen pals. We used to write letters, inland letters to pen pals, and make friends from people across the world. There was no WhatsApp. We used to write letters and make pen pals. So, my dear friend, जहाँ चाह है वहाँ राह है. Extend your friendship with your old friends. Connect with the new guys through peers. Give hi-fi online, and in anticipation, wait for the day when you can actually meet them. Boredom, yeah, is the word used by people who have a million excuses. There's no excuse in life. If you want to go ahead on the screen or go ahead live. That will keep you alive. Again, I would say preserve your dream. It may be postponed, but don't kill it. And that I think is the key for all of y'all who are actually bored. Don't stay inside the house. Go for a run. All those adults who are staying in buildings, all those sports coaches who are staying anywhere, get a small ground. Get young boys and girls down to play any games which needs no equipment so that physically they're active, so that the mind also becomes active to reach out to people online or offline.
So very well said, Guru Anna. अपना time आएगा. Be patient. Patience is the name of the game. And now Anirudh is going to show a picture. And my next question, Guru Anna, is related to this picture. When it came in 2019, we had a saying, avoid negative people. When it came to 2020, we said avoid positive people. And now in 2021, we are saying avoid people. This is so depressing. First, we said avoid negative people. Then we said avoid positive people. Now we are saying avoid people. So, in this negative and positive times where we want to spread positivity, Guru Anna, how do we counter this 2021? This is testing our patience, our fatigue. So, how does one handle that, Guru Anna?
Well, we said that in the first few sessions, Shashank, if you remember. Distance would not mean emotional distance. Distance means physical distance and emotionally connected. The other day, a pathologist told me, how you psychiatrists guys wear a mask and still connect? You should keep your face open. I said, no. The most beautiful thing about a face is the eyes. Ask a Bharatanatyam dancer, ask a Kathak dancer. He or she can say everything with her own eyes or with his own eyes. So you can still emote but remain at a distance. So no avoiding people. You're only causing physical distance, not social distance. You're only being a little away, but not completely disconnected. You are away, but you are not socially responsible. So I think what is very important is we have never avoided people across time, and human beings can never avoid people for a long time. So we are connected, but in a responsible way. We are connected in an optimistic way. What has changed is narrative of connection. The narrative of connection has changed, but that does not mean that we have disconnected. Probably this narrative will change. It will be a day will come very soon that we don't. We can still give the high five, we can still give the hug, and we can still hold people close to our hearts and our bodies, and that day will come. So you are physically distant but not emotionally distant. You don't avoid people at all. आपण अलिप्त नाही होणार, आपण दूर नाही राहणार, पण आपण नीट डिस्टन्स ठेवून जगणार. That means we are with the people, but we are trying to avoid contact because of the virus, and that will go after some time. अपना time आएगा, अपना भी दिन आएगा. This is a temporary adjustment to manage a protein, an invisible protein, and there's a visible vaccine to beat the invisible protein. we will never avoid people, and people can never avoid each other.
Thank you, Guru Anna. So this is a very sensitive question, and this is a question asked by Dr. Deshpande. I'm a doctor. I took my parents to take their vaccines. As I came back, I developed fever and have developed COVID. I have not slept for 3 days, and I don't want to take any medicines. Guru Anna, how can you help Dr. Deshpande?
My dear friends, if you have intractable insomnia, you'll have to take some medicine, because if you remain insomniac, your blood pressure might rise. You would have physical complications. You will have emotional complications, and your answer on the phone to your parents, your voice on the phone to your parents will quiver, thereby affecting even them. So talk to your physician who's treating you. Talk to the doctor who's treating you if you're hospitalized or if you're in quarantine, and take a small dose of medication which he or she gives. I would not like to name the medications here for the fear of being misused. So see that insomnia will bring down your immunity. Insomnia will cause upheaval in your organs. Insomnia will break the mind body orchestra and cause a lot of metabolic, physical, and metabolic changes. So it's important that you sleep. And remember, your parents are fine. You'll also be very fine. And if you sleep well, you'll recover much faster. That I think is important. So don't fight insomnia, treat insomnia. Don't fight depression, treat depression. Don't fight mental illness, treat mental illness. You work hard to preserve your health, but don't fight illnesses. Seek pragmatic, logical, and rational treatment.
Treat insomnia, doctor. Guru Anna, thank you so much. Today is a rapid fire session. So Ramesh Subramaniam saying that I was working in the USA and I'm still working offline. Now I'm working online. I'm stuck in Mumbai now. It's more than a year. I'm 26. I'm worried I may lose my job there. I'm brooding and sulking all the time. I can't sleep too. I've been throwing anger and tantrums at my parents. I'm sad too. Guru Anna, what should I do?
If a train leaves the station and you cannot catch it, there'll be a second train which will come and you can catch it in life. There's nothing like I lose a job. There's nothing like I've lost a friend. You'll get another friend. What is very important to understand, that the job is important, but the situation, the context in which you are is more important. So if you're so attached to your job, keep in touch with your owners. But remember, do not let your hypothalamo pituitary adrenal axis collapse because of the stress. Share these goals with your friend. Abuse the virus if you like, in all languages, but find options. Option one, option two, option three. Life is all for people who have option two, option three, option four, and not for those who would say option one is the only option I have. Though you may have had a great job, there would be many more jobs in the future. There may be a gap between your first job and your second job. And by the way, Mr. Ramesh Subramaniam, India is a happening country also. There's a lot of pride in having a job in India. And there's a lot of joy in living with your family in India. So just relax and let the COVID crisis go down. And when you are able to reach United States of America, that's fine. If not, there are more than 160 countries on the earth where you can find a job. That includes India. And remember, India is a developing economy, and we need you here also to build the new India, which is coming up in a very big way.
That's awesome. Guru Anna so well said that we are looking at a new age India and we are rebuilding India in a very different way. Now, this is a question which is again a very sensitive question. It is coming from Mrs. Mehta. My grandmom had COVID. She was fine for 3 months, and now she has started saying to people are talking about her. She suspects me too that I will kill her. Guru Nanak, this is a very sensitive question of Mrs. Mehta and her grandmother. It's a very touchy issue. So, how do you handle such a crisis?
Absolutely. Elderly people, when the brain gives away, you might get symptoms. There could be suspicion. There could be symptoms like somebody is coming in the house, I can see them. Actually, there's nobody. There could be symptoms like I can hear somebody around me. He or she is talking about me, or she's saying, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to harm you. And actually there's no one, there's nobody around her, and but the person believes all these symptoms. For her it may be true. That's because the brain may be giving way. There could be something happening inside the brain. An aging brain can give way and cause the symptom. Now let me again say, let's not blame everything about our life to COVID. Let's not scapegoat COVID. There are other illnesses that also exist around COVID, and this could be one of those symptoms which happens in the brain losing its cells, early dementia, something happening in the brain because the other organs are failing. And what is very important for us to understand is that this should be examined by a neurologist or a psychiatrist and a psychiatrist, and they would give small dose of medications to help her. And if they find something inside the brain, they would help the person seek adequate treatment, and that I think is important. Let me tell the entire audience, don't blame all your symptoms on COVID, just like a family which has an alcoholic husband or a wife blames everything around the alcoholism of the person. So, dementia, hallucinations, organic change in the brain are a reality with elderly people that can be treated.
Thank you so much, Dr. Guru Annam. See, today morning, Guru Annam, I was with a team from Delhi, Dr. K.K. Agarwal, Dr. K.K. Kalra, Dr. Bijon Mishra. And they told me that a story of a healthcare worker who is in charge of the vaccination center. When you get a COVID vaccine, you get a number, and you're supposed to call that person for any side effect. And when that person is called, that person often wants to report the side effect. So there was a lady, healthcare worker, a nurse, who used to get every day, she was vaccinating 100 people. And at least 60, 70 people used to call her. And her boss told her that you can't write up all the side effects. Otherwise, we'll lose our jobs. And she is very anguished because she's very rightless, forthright, correct. At the same time, her boss is saying that no, you can't report all the side effects. And when she was giving everybody the injection, she was saying you'll get a pain in the ear, in your hand, you'll get fever. Those are adverse events, mild or severe. We have to report all the side effects. So this dilemma was crossing in her mind. What should I do? Should I listen to my inner conscience and report 50% of the side effects, which are very minor, or should I just listen to my boss and do what he says? Guru Anna, how will you say, remove this mind war between the truth and the obedience? How can
Yeah,
you handle this?
absolutely. This is known as a value crisis for every health worker. That's a great question. And I would say the health worker is not loyal to his boss. Health worker has to be loyal to his science. We're all loyal to science. We're not loyal to anybody else. At the same time, we have to follow rules of the working place. And that would mean that when you're loyal to science and you want to science to progress and you want the world to be a better place and you want the science to also inform us what can happen to others, which means I will write what I'm supposed to write, irrespective of what the boss says. I'll tell you what will happen in this case. If he or she is honest at night when she sleeps or he sleeps, he'll have that peace. What I've done is is aligned to my conscience, transparent to my conscience and to my science, and honesty to science, my loyalty to science. After some time, the bosses love such workers because they are the most reliable, they are the most trusted, and for the most difficult task, the bosses call these workers and not those who have fallen in line with the whims and fancies of the administration. During crucial times, you will remember this worker. And honestly, I'll tell you in my experience, those who have fallen in line are not respected by the same bosses who have forced them to fall in line. So, to all the health workers who are listening to this show, loyalty to science is first. respect towards authority is next. And if you want to improve your brand value, and if you want to glow inside your house and in your workplace, and if you want your bosses to see secretly respect you, this is what you should do. And I have been told many times that हरीश शेट्टी गलती कर सकता है पर उसे खरीद नहीं सकते हैं. And that is the reputation you need to have as health workers. I'm proud of you, dear health workers, of those who would write what is supposed to be written. I was stopped by a security guard in hospital because I entered the wrong entrance in the vaccination camp. He said, "No, doctor, you cannot come from." I applauded him. I congratulated him, and I went around and went to the right entrance. I went there without, not intentionally, but without knowing, and that I think should be very important. There are million examples across the world where cops have stopped prime ministers for not for doing things which are not right inadvertently, and India needs health workers for honesty because honesty can never be sold and loyalty can never be bought.
So well said, Guru Anna, about value crisis of honesty and loyalty, and how do you sort out a debate between honesty and loyalty? Neither can loyalty be bought, nor honesty can be bought. And I think be yourself, trust yourself, and be honest and be right, and go for it. That's the Guru mantra of Guru Anna. So as Guru Anna, we are now having couple of quick questions again, rapid fire. Okay, Santosh Bhaneswali now is seeing a wave coming, and he's seeing students and professionals who have lost their family members in COVID. With this second wave lurking, with those clouds of the storm coming around us, people who have lost their family members to COVID are getting into a shell and a phobia. They are reliving the traumatic experiences of COVID, losing their near and dear ones. How can you help them, Guru Anna?
I have always said to every state government that you are dealing with the first pandemic, but you have to deal with the second pandemic alongside. So every government should make a list of families who have lost their close members. Identify them, reach out to them through mental health professionals, through NGOs, through medical colleges, through barefoot counselors, and provide them that counseling which is absolutely necessary. It is not a charity by the state government, it is a right. If you can give vaccines free to every health worker, please give mental health relief free for every health worker and see that it is made accessible. Vaccines, people have to go to the vaccine center because there's no stigma against the vaccine. People have taken vaccines before, but for mental health, there's a stigma. So you need to reach out to every person who has lost somebody and to every person who has symptoms and signs of post traumatic stress disorder or post pandemic anxiety or depression. This screening has to happen on a war footing, Dr. Shashank, and I would ask you to use your good offices to draw protocols, to screen all those who have lost family members, to screen all those who have been hospitalized, and screen others who would need mental relief. Vaccine did not reach your home. You went for the vaccine because there's no stigma, and the governments have given free vaccine. Let us give free mental health relief by reaching out to those who need it the most. Let us not play around with lives. The second pandemic will have much more economic burden, and the burden of disease will be much more than the first pandemic. So let us draw policies in our country which has been on the forefront of managing COVID, both during the COVID epidemic and now during the COVID vaccination.
Thank you so much, Guru Anna. Sujata Rajesh Singh is saying, I wake up in middle of the night, cannot go back to sleep immediately. Don't know why, but morning when I wake up, I'm absolutely fine. What's happening to me, Guru Anna?
Well. If you have insomnia early morning, or if you have insomnia, if your sleep breaks across night, check first physically whether you're all right. Whether hemoglobin, whether your sugars, blood pressure, and your micronutrients are fine. Apart from that, find out if there's anything nagging in your mind which is affecting you very badly, very badly. Find out if you have changed your bed. Change your space, change your place. Find out if you have somebody new sleeping next to your pillow. And if everything is all right, if everything is all right, find out if you're drinking a lot of tea, coffee. Find out if you're really exercising in the evening. Sometimes exercise in the evening causes a lot of insomnia. Find out if you have been on the screens for a very long time. Find out if you're watching so-called serials on Netflix which can be stopped because there are complaints against them. And if everything is all right, look for certain nagging thoughts in your mind which is affecting you. And if you're all right in the morning, though your sleep is breaking, after some days, you'll find yourself tired, exhausted, anxious, or even depressed. So seek counseling, seek therapy, seek medication, but correct your physical status alongside, and you see that you'll be all right. Sometimes transient insomnia for a few days is very normal. Then the sleep comes back to normal, and that's okay. I had a friend today who called me that a friend's husband passed away. He had COVID as well as a heart ailment. And he passed away because of the heart ailment, not because of COVID. And she was extremely anxious. And she said she's extremely anxious because she was very scared of whether she should go and meet her friend now or she should meet her friend later because she was worried that she might catch COVID. So there was a conflict. My friend I want to meet, but there's COVID, I should not meet. And that caused a lot of heartburn, and I was sure that she would not sleep. I told her, take a small dose of medications for a couple of days and sleep. Do yoga nidra as much as you can. Do relaxation, but let the insomnia not last for too long. If it lasts for too long, there'll be trouble. There'll be consequent depression or anxiety, which needs to be treated much later.
Guru Anna, this is a question by a patient, Mr. Paratasar. Guru Anna, I got COVID. I was in the hospital isolated for 21 days. When I came home, I was again isolated for another 10 days. So 31 days I spent in solitude. Now I am 2 months after I have come home, and I still feel that I don't want to interact with anybody. I get very irritable and angry whenever I see anybody. And I just am not able to cope up with my nearest and dearest ones. Do I need to see a psychiatrist like you, or should I just ignore it?
Excessive irritability, screen yourself. See, err on the side of screening your problem by a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Err on that side. Don't hesitate to go there because that it brings down the stigma. It makes mental illness more approachable, more treatable, and more talked about. And if he or she says, no, this is not irritability alone, this is probably depression because of isolation, he or she might give you certain exercises to even she says, just walk on the road, walk on the grass, run, get into water, have a great shower, take a massage, do Kerala Ayurvedic massage. He or she might give you simple techniques for the first 10-15 days. And if this doesn't work, and if you have no thoughts about harming yourself, you may have to seek some counseling for your thoughts which literally make you the person you are. Or you may be required to take certain medications for some time. And remember, don't be ashamed to take a pill for a psychiatric problem or a psychological problem. And let the person who's treating you decide what to do. But screen immediately. Don't postpone treating your emotional issues. Early treatment, both of malaria, diabetes, or emotional issues, are important. It results in early recovery and diminished consequences, diminished hardships, and brings down loss of wages and also improves the health of the family. Otherwise, the quality of life across the family gets spoiled because your irritability may be misunderstood as arrogance and as a condescending behavior, which might break your relationship with your loved ones. You're mute.
Thank you, Guru Anna. As we are closing the show, a couple of rapid fire questions. Guru Anna, people are tired. People are fed up. People are angry. People have lost livelihood. They have taken pay cuts. They have been holed out at home, and they are again facing a potential lockdown. And people have gone into a very revengeful mood, whether it is going to a mall, going to a restaurant, and they are not able to control their impulses at all. And this has become a problem, not only in urban India but also in rural India, because people have just thought that this is it now. Our threshold for perseverance, patience, putting a mask, being polite is gone. At the same time, the government is saying that look, we can do an X amount, and beyond that X amount, we really can't do it. You have to be responsible. But I don't think people are at all in the mood to listen. So, Guru Anna, how would you help such people to help themselves so that they stay safe?
Uh, I may not have all the answers for this question, which is psychosocial and sociological. Honestly, I would admit I don't have all, but I would like to say something. My dear friends, wars in Afghanistan lasted for more than 2 decades. Wars between Iran and Iraq lasted for a long time. The world wars also lasted for so long. Wars in some African countries are still continuing between the rebels and the rulers. Syria is also burning. So in all these different countries, there are disasters which are continuing for years, and still the people there are surviving probably with difficulty. Corona has actually reminded us of three things. It has told us, let me test your ability to survive a crisis. कितना झेल सकते हैं हम देखेंगे. That's one lesson of Corona. The second most important lesson of Corona is, will you live alone in a cave, or will you live as a community? Will you be a caveman, or a effective member in the community, or a member in the community who is going to work alongside with others? Corona has also taught us, will you live in your visiting card, or will you throw it and live as a human being, as Homo sapiens, with other people, and share your woes, share your wealth, as well as share your resources with others? I think Corona is in a different way a blessing for human beings to reset themselves, to reset the environments, to reset the communities. Now, this is a very philosophical answer. And people down there would say, this does not work for me. तुम बताओ मैं क्या करूं? तुम तो आराम से बैठे हो, तुम्हारे पास सब कुछ है, मैं क्या करूं? मेरा जॉब नहीं है, मेरा फैक्ट्री बंद है, मैं क्या करूं? देखो भाई, सचमुच मेरे पास सब उत्तर नहीं, पर एक मैं बात कह सकता हूं कि लोगों का संगत मत छोड़ना. Do not be ashamed to ask for help. Do not be ashamed to live a life of minimalism. Do not be ashamed to accept that your state is bad. When you do all that, creative answers might come up. And alongside, look at all the schemes of the governments and the state governments. Look at all the schemes of the NGOs. I still remember at Latur after the earthquake, the rich upper class was scared and ashamed to stand in the queues to seek help. The poorer people were very easy, they found it very easy to seek help and stand in the queues for food. Let's break that, and let's horizontally connect with people around, have a sense of belonging, kill our shames, and work individually and also with others. Anger gets resolved when you go for a run. Anger also gets resolved when you tell your mind that this is a long haul, we will survive, we will fight it. They will behave like Sindhis who ran from Sindh and settled in India and have made the best of opportunities they've got. We'll talk about the Parsis who came from Iran and Persia and settled in Gujarat, and they are one of the most foremost leaders in the country. We'll tell ourselves about all those migrant people who were displaced inside our country and from outside, and how they turned themselves into successful individuals. We'll talk about the Jews who said one day we'll go to Jerusalem and see Israel today, one of the most prosperous countries. So, my dear friends, God has given us enough resilience and enough power to think about ourselves. And when I'm saying it, I'm becoming more resilient. So what is very important is, believe in the human being inside you, believe in the gifts of God, which you always have, and believe in people around each other. So, a sense of belonging, safety, and community effort will see you through this pandemic, and each one of us will be able to write a book on our own experiences, which will help people across centuries to learn how to face a pandemic, how to face a disaster, how to face a small virus which is invisible by visible activities of the human race.
Thank you so much, Guru Anna. The power of resilience is what you said, and the personality of the week for this week for us. The power of resilience, Guru Anna. I want to show her live to you. Yesterday, I had the opportunity of, getting a 92-year-old Aji, grandmother. She's the grandmother of Dr. Sonali Pandit and Dr. Rahul Pandit. She lives in Aurangabad. She has seen plague to COVID. She never took a single pill all her life, and she got COVID in February and survived COVID and was with us on the show. Anirudh, if you see what is resilience, this is Usha Bhavikar, and this is resilience. At 92, this lady has survived COVID. She does everything herself, truly Atmanirbhar. She was smiling, she was positive, and she had all the resilience to show us the courage. If we have grandmothers like Usha Bhaviskar leading our country with resilience, I think we as Indians should feel very proud. Guru Anna, what is your take on such legends? They are the real India. They are the Atmanirbhar India. They are what we stand for as Vasudeva Kutumbam. Guru Anna, your final words.
Absolutely. If the media throws some such people across the sea of humanity, it will be much better than listening to government officers talking about COVID. And the one such legend lives in the house. She's 84, and she has seen many disasters. And she just took the vaccine few days ago. That's my mother at 84, and she's smiling. She coaxed others also take the vaccine, and she says, and one sentence she says, everything will be all right, with a smile on her face and a glow on her cheeks. And I think these are the crusaders who can really bring about change in our country. We don't need articulate people all the time to be visible on any screen. I think Rahul Pandit's grandmother, she represents a large number of people who are invisible, but who have kept India glowing, growing, and being nourished across the time. And they have nourished souls across the time. Let us pay our wonderment to all such people, invisible, and these are the guys who will really see to it that India becomes Atmanirbhar, India becomes resilient, and this word of resilience, this flow of resilience, will really go across the sea of humanity, across all four sides of a country and even the world.
Thank
Absolutely.
you so much, Guru Anna. And I thank Anirudh for
Thank you.
constantly continuing the show. I know COVID is very much here, and I wish that we had to focus ourselves on mind again. Because ultimately, what we do is all in our mind. And Guru Annas, thank you for walking us through this journey of mind, exploring the unexplored, making us more resilient, less impulsive, more appropriate, so that we can appropriately tackle this predictably unpredictable virus, which is threatening to disrupt our lives, but should never disrupt our mind. So it may keep on disrupting our livelihood and lives, but I think we will emerge victorious. We'll need patience. We'll need a lot of sensitivity, careful attitudes. But I think, Guru Anna, you have shown us today that independent of adversities and uncertainties, we can actually conquer COVID and our mind and be happy, be resilient, be positive, and be cheerful. And Anirudh, thank you so much
Thank you so
once
much.
again for continuing the show. We'll be back again next week with all about COVID, and hopefully by next week we'll have better numbers to speak on. We'll have a dent on our numbers, and we'll probably might see a bend around the corner. Thank you, Guru Anna. Thank you, Anil Sapartekar. Dr. Shetty, you are simply awesome today.